Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. This is Sani, and today I'm doing a ramble style video. A little different from the last few, not talking about the blog or anything, just something that, I was kind of thinking about in old school RuneScape the other day. So specifically, it's going to be about quests and why I don't like quests personally. So as you can see here, I am very qualified to talk about this because I just got my Questscape on this account yesterday. So I have gotten the Questscape before on my old Iron, but I had never done it on this account. So I never had the Lumbridge Diaries, anything like that. I know it's kind of trolling, but I've just been putting it off for so long because I really just don't like quests. And so kind of want to get into why. So, starting off, I've been playing this game for a long time. I started playing this game back in 2007, like I'm sure a lot of you guys did. And, back in those days, quests were the bomb. I loved quests, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree. I mean, doing, Dragon Slayer for the first time or Monkey Madness one. I remember when I was a kid and, running around Ape Atoll trying not to get caught. And when you go to the gate at the first part of the quest and ever you get hit by that barrage of arrows, I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. So, I've really enjoyed quests in RuneScape as a whole. I think there are a lot of quests that this game does well. But I think the issue is in the last few years, the relevancy of quests has kind of shifted out. So, what I mean by that, let's imagine back in, around that 2007 time frame. First of all, what was the end game back then, right? So, a lot of people, this is another reason why I think PKing was such a big thing back in the day and has kind of died out in the last, for the last decade, really, ever since Old School came out. But PKing was a big part of the end game. Once you got your account up to a high level, you would go PK. And I mean, other than that, KQ, mini games, and that was it. And really, like quests were kind of a big part of the end game. So when I say that, I'm saying you look at quests like Recipe for Disaster. When you do this grand quest consisting of however many, like 10 different mini parts, and it all accumulates in this big boss fight where you have to kill like 5 different bosses, and then you finally fight the Colomancer, and like that feels like almost an end game of RuneScape. At least it did to me back in the day when I did that quest for the first time. So quests were honestly a big part of kind of the end game of RuneScape. I mean, that felt like one of the final fights. You beat the Colormancer, you beat Recipe for Disaster, and it's like I've almost kind of beaten the game back in the day. And this is before any of the real bosses came out. And then you look at the rewards too, and it reflects that sentiment. So you would beat the Colormancer and you would get Barrow's gloves, which for the time, I mean, are super super. Even now, they're really good gloves. Obviously, they've been phased out of the meta, and rightfully so. I mean, they're a quest reward, but still, they were really great items back in the day. I mean, it was one of the biggest upgrades you could get. You look at other items too that you would get from quests. Monkey Madness One, the D Skim was the best in slot melee strength weapon. So that was a reward from a quest. The Nezi helm was a free reward from a quest. That was the best in slot melee helm. So a lot of these best in slot rewards were coming from quests. Obviously, all the Ava stuff that was quest related as well. So quests were a big part of the game, a big part of kind of the end game, and big part of the meta. And then in the last few years, since Old School came out, I mean, rightfully so, they've released a lot of different updates and bosses, and I think it's been a net benefit for the game. So you have, first you get God War's Dungeon coming out, and then you get raids, and so on and so forth until you're at the point where we are today. There's so many, great items, and now though, quests don't really fit into that end game meta. So you look at what the best rewards are, and quests don't really fit in there. And I know you can say, oh, well, Desert Treasure 2, you have to complete the quest to wear the rings, and those are the best item rings. And that is true, but when you've got Ultor's, 100 mil plus, all of a sudden, completing a quest doesn't feel like the limiting factor towards getting that item. It feels like the limiting factor is actually being able to afford the ring, right? So I feel like quests no longer gatekeep this anymore. So that's a big reason why they feel unfulfilling and unrewarding now. Yeah, back in the day, they were, an important part of a milestone. Now they just kind of feel like arbitrary checklists that you have to hit. in order to, complete the Lumbridge Diary, or get an unlock that you had, or just get your quest cape back. A lot of them feel pretty arbitrary, and I think that's not helped by the fact that there's a lot of bloat here too. I mean, I understand that, not every quest has to be a Grandmaster quest. We can release some fun, silly little quests, and it doesn't take the JMods a lot of time. They're good updates, but I mean, we have 170 quests in the game now. That's outstanding amount. That's a lot of quests, and especially, if you're doing what a lot of accounts do and you're kind of rushing this stuff, doing 170 quests at one point, that's really overwhelming. That's a lot of time, a lot of work, and they just feel tedious and repetitive. A lot of these, quests just boil down to go here, go there, talk there. And at the end of the day, sure, you're clicking blue, but it's not engaging. It's not fun. I think part of that's just the game is aging out of quests, and I think that's important to understand and to realize the reason these quests don't feel rewarding anymore is because they're not. Now, I still think that Jagex can do really fun quests, and they can, have really good rewards, and they can kind of recapture this a little bit. So, for example, Dragon Slayer 2, you unlock the ability to get the Vorkath backpack, which you had to do the quest to get the backpack. And, it was an untradeable reward drop, only 50 KC, not a lot of time. So it really did feel like you're actually achieving best in slot by doing Dragon Slayer 2. And that was a really fun quest. I really enjoyed Dragon Slayer 2. I did it on release, and I had a great time. It was actually one of my favorite quests they've released. Monkey Madness 2 is kind of part of the same vein. There's not really a lot of bits that comes from it, since you don't need the quest to wear the Zenites, but it's still a fun quest. But then, some of the later quests, I mean, Desert Treasure 2, I really didn't enjoy that much at all. And I think one issue is kind of with these quest designs, I really don't like these huge areas where you're having to run around. And I'm thinking like the Ice Prison in Desert Treasure 2, or the Shadow Realm in Lazar. All of these places, big, like, you've got these really big maps, and you're just running the whole time, and you've got to, God forbid you have to go back and bank your stuff and go through the thing all over again. It's just so tedious. It becomes so tedious and so annoying. And, I think the same thing kind of applies to While Gothic Sleeps too. There was a lot of that, like running around getting the totems near the end, and then you have to go bank it anyway because you need the inventory space, but then you have to go bank to fight, like stuff like that. Those kind of mechanics are just so frustrating and just so annoying. So, I really hope that they can keep releasing good quests, but I think first of all, I don't think they need to release so many. And I understand, I don't understand why Reddit likes quests so much, to be honest. That's really the main driver of quests I see, are people on Reddit like, oh, we need more mid-level quests, are really fun. I don't understand how they enjoy them, because for me, they just feel pointless. They just feel like completely pointless, just, tedious chores and tasks to check off the list. So I don't understand why they enjoy them. I personally would wish we have less of those small quests, and we have more large quests. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about quests. Do you enjoy them in the game? Have you felt like they've become more tedious? Do you agree with my take? So yeah, let me know, and thanks for watching.